James 1:12 God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. And remember, when you are being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and he never tempts anyone else. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. So don't be less misled, my dear brothers and sisters. Whatever is good and perfect is a gift coming down to us from God our Father, who created all the lights in the heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. He chose to give birth to us by giving us his true word, and we out of all creation became his prized possession. James 1:12-18 discuss enduring trials and temptation, emphasizing that God is not the source of temptation, but rather it arises from our own desires. Those who persevere through trials are blessed, and will receive the crown of life. Temptation leads to sin, which ultimately results in death. God, on the other hand, is the source of all good and perfect gifts. Endurance in trials. Verse 12 highlights the blessedness of those who persevere under trials, promising them the crown of life. Temptation's source. Verse 13-15 clarify that temptation comes from within, from our own desires, not from God. God does not tempt anyone. The cycle of sin. Verse 15 describes how desire, when conceived, leads to sin, and sin, when fully grown, leads to death. Verses 16-18, God's goodness, emphasizing God's role as the giver of good and perfect gifts, and that he gives birth to us through the word of truth, making us his treasured possession. The crown of life. The concept of the crown of life is introduced as a reward for those who endure temptation and love God. Elaboration. Temptation versus trials. James distinguishes between trials, difficult circumstances, and temptation, the allure to sin. Trials are seen as opportunities for growth and testing of faith, while temptation is a lure to do evil. Internal conflict. The passage emphasizes that temptation is an internal struggle, not an external force. Our own desires and lusts can lead us astray. God's character. The passage stresses that God is not the source of evil or temptation. He is the ultimate source of all good and perfect gifts. New birth. The passage also speaks about God's role in the spiritual rebirth. In our spiritual rebirth, giving us new life through the word of truth. In essence, James 1:12-18 encourages believers to persevere through trials, resist temptation, and recognize God as the source of all good, leading to a life of blessing and future reward.